Listen, I need to get something off my chest, and if you're a real Knicks fan, you're probably feeling the same frustration boiling under the surface right now. The New York Knicks just reached the absolute peak of the basketball world, a championship season that should have been the start of a dynasty conversation. But instead of pure celebration and confidence, we're already talking about something that always ruins great teams in this league. The salary cap, and more specifically, that brutal second April reality in the NBA. And yeah, it feels ridiculous even saying that after a title run. You'd think winning fixes everything. You'd think the front office finally gets to breathe. But in today's NBA, success comes with a price tag that can tear a roster apart faster than a bad playoff series. What's making this even more painful is the feeling that the Knicks might have to start sacrificing depth. Not the stars, not the faces of the franchise, but the glue guys, the role players, the energy pieces that actually make championship basketball work. And if you're a Knicks fan, you already know how dangerous that is. Let's talk about Mitchell Robinson for a second, because this one hits differently. This is a guy who has been through everything with this franchise. Injuries, criticism, constant trade rumors, people questioning his durability, his consistency, his fit. And yet when it matters most, he shows up in the most Knicks way possible. Defensive stops, rebounding battles, hustle plays that don't show up in highlight reels, but absolutely show up in winning basketball. And now suddenly, we're hearing whispers that even he might not be safe if the financial pressure gets too tight. That's the part that should make every fan angry. Because how do you replace a player like that in a system that already depends so heavily on physical defense and rim protection? You don't just plug and play a guy who anchors your paint like that. You don't just find another Mitchell Robinson sitting in free agency waiting for minimum money. And don't get me started on the idea that centers are replaceable. That's the kind of front office language that sounds good in spreadsheets, but falls apart the second you're getting out-rebounded in a playoff game that decides your season. This is where the fear kicks in, because teams like the Sacramento Kings are watching. Front offices around the league are watching. If a player like Robinson becomes even slightly available, they're not hesitating. And if you're the Knicks, you already know what happens next. Someone offers more money than you're comfortable matching, and suddenly a key piece of your championship identity is gone. And I don't care how deep your roster is. Losing that kind of defensive presence changes everything. Now, let's talk about something else that should concern fans. The ripple effect on the younger players and the bench. There's a real scenario where guys like Tyler Kolek and even Mohamed Diawara get pulled into bigger roles way sooner than expected. And look, I like youth development as much as a Knicks fan, but there's a difference between developing talent and being forced into relying on it because of financial constraints. That's not strategy. That's survival mode. And if you watch this Knicks team during their playoff run, you know they didn't win because of survival mode. They won because they had structure, because they had depth, because they had veterans and specialists who knew exactly what their job was. Now imagine messing with that balance just because the salary cap says you have to. It's frustrating. Honestly, it's infuriating. And we haven't even touched the guard situation yet, because the decision to bring in Jose Alvarado at the deadline was supposed to be a stabilizer move, a safety net, a way to protect the backcourt and give Mike Brown flexibility in playoff rotations. But it also sent a message, whether intentional or not. They weren't fully convinced about Tyler Kolek, yet in high-pressure postseason moments. That's where things get tricky, because if Alvarado sees a market this summer and decides he wants a bigger role elsewhere, the Knicks could lose him too. And suddenly a move that looked like depth insurance turns into another hole that needs filling. And I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing holes that need filling in championship rosters. At some point, continuity has to matter. You can't just keep reshuffling the same deck every offseason and expect chemistry to magically survive. And while we're at it, let's talk about the rookie situation, because this is where things could get really messy. Mohamed Diawara is one of those young players who feels like he's sitting right on the edge of opportunity. Not quite established, not quite disposable. And the contract situation makes everything even more complicated. If he starts showing real flashes, other teams have been calling fast. And because of how restricted rules work, the Knicks might find themselves in a position where they either overpay or risk losing him for almost nothing. That's the kind of situation that front offices hate. But fans hate even more when it actually happens, because it always feels like the team discovers talent just in time to lose it. And let me be clear here. If the Knicks lose multiple rotation pieces in the same offseason, nobody should be surprised when the team struggles to replicate the same level of dominance next year. This is where I need to call something out directly. The idea that ownership doesn't like the second apron sounds nice in interviews, but becomes meaningless if it leads to hesitation in keeping the roster intact. You either commit to winning at the highest level or you don't. There is no in-between when you're a champion. Fans don't care about luxury tax spreadsheets when they're watching a playoff game slip away because a key rotation player is now wearing a different jersey. And honestly, this is where the anger kicks in for me, because this Knicks team finally felt like it was built the right way. Balanced, physical, deep, connected, and now we're talking about breaking it apart before it even has a chance to defend anything. That's not how you build a legacy. That's how you waste one. If you're watching this and you're a Knicks fan, I need you to do something right now. Drop a like on this video and comment who you think is the most important player to keep this offseason. I want to see where the fan base stands on this, because right now, every opinion matters. Do you keep Mitchell Robinson no matter what? Do you trust the young guards like Tyler Kolek to step up? Or do you think the front office is going to have to make painful sacrifices we're not ready for? Because I'll tell you what, I don't trust the league to make this easy for New York. And if there's one thing we've learned watching the Knicks over the years, it's that nothing is ever simple. So again, like this video if you feel the frustration building the same way I do. Comment your thoughts, because I genuinely want to know if you think this roster stays intact or starts getting picked apart. And most importantly, stay locked in, because this offseason isn't going to be quiet. Not even close. We're talking about a championship team entering its most dangerous phase. Not on the court, but in the front office. And if you're a Knicks fan, you already know that's where the real battles always happen.